Hey y'all, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Tanya and I'm a mom of 3. So today I wanted to talk to y'all about everything about nursing and pumping. So I'm currently nursing my 3rd baby and we are 8 months in. So I feel like I have a lot of advice, and I especially get just asked a lot of advice of how do I do it with work and going back, and how do I schedule it, how do I get her used to the bottle and all of them, because I've been a nurse for all of them. So I've eventually had to go back to work every time. So I've just learned a couple tips along the way. So I just wanted to, especially if you're going back to work or you're just nursing and trying to get some tips and things to help you up along the way, please check out this video. So I'm just gonna be looking down because I have my computer right here and I just wrote like a couple notes. So a little backstory, whenever I got pregnant with my first baby, I did not have like a plan on how I was gonna feed the baby. I just was like, like, actually the hospital asked me, are you gonna breastfeed? And I was like, well, I'll give it a try. Like, you know, like I don't really even know anything about it. I didn't take any classes or anything. I kind of just like took it day by day and like on a whim. So I just started, and I think maybe that's why also too everything worked out, because I just didn't put that pressure on myself, like I have to do this and it has to be this way. And I think for nursing, and especially like if it's your first baby, just I think the best way to go into it is just like do whatever is best for you and the baby, and you'll learn that along the way. And it doesn't have to be so cut and dry. And I feel like that's what makes us have so much anxiety, because we're like, no, it has to be this way. Like, and everybody tells you all their opinions, and like, again, I'm just like a mom of 3 sharing like what worked for me. I'm not a like licensed lactation person or whatever. So this is just my opinion. So take everything I say with a grain of salt and use what works for you. Like, again, everything that might work for me not might work for you. So just use this as a tool. Don't take everything. You know what I mean? Anyway, so I really went into breastfeeding my first baby just to see if it worked. In the beginning, they told me don't pump, don't introduce your baby to a bottle, don't introduce to a pacifier. And I'm like, well, in 3 months, I'm gonna have to go back to work. So this baby's gonna have to take a bottle. So I basically just didn't listen. I did what I felt was right. And I feel like that's a lot about what being a mom is just doing what you think is right. So in the beginning, like, I introduced a bottle, I think the first week with all my babies. Like, don't get me wrong, I was nursing them around the clock, but like that one time I would give them a bottle. And how I would even have milk to give them a bottle is the best thing in the world. And the way to get a stash is buy a Haka. They're on Amazon. I will link the one I used and show you a picture of it, of exactly the one I used. And I wish I even did this with my first one, because in my first one I would pump, like actually use the electronic pump. So just using the Haka, like while I'm nursing on the right side, I would put the Haka on my left side, and I would get like, I know it, if it to you discouraging to get like 2-3 ounces or even an ounce, like that adds up. You feed your baby, especially in the beginning, like every 2 hours, every hour sometimes. And I know it could get a little annoying, and I really did this in the beginning. Like, I don't do this now. She's 8 months. Because then after a while they start kicking it off you, and you just, you know, it's just a mess. But in those beginning, like especially, I would very much do it in the beginning. 3 months would be And that's how I have like a whole freezer supply, which I'll show you, of milk because of that, of just doing that. I also use an app, the Gnarl app, and that really helped a lot because it would always also not only help me like track the last side I fed, but I also used it for like sleep, like awake windows. So I would follow the eat, play, sleep. So I would, whenever she would wake up, I would feed her. And then like if her wake window at that time was like an hour and she's getting a little fussy, then I know, oh, hey, look at my app and hey, it's been an hour since I fed her. Let me try to put her down, you know? And that would really, and I know in the beginning they're like newborn, the eat, play, sleep, like you just try your best, right? Like it doesn't exactly always work out that way. But the Nara app, I actually really did use it a lot this time. Then another thing I didn't know was that, especially with my first, I would have pain, and not pain where I'm like crying, but it would be uncomfortable to me. So I thought I was doing something wrong, and no, it was. And I would talk to like my cousins and like other moms that I knew, but I had my first baby at 23 or 22. So my friends weren't having kids. Like I was like the first one to have a kid. So I was just really just trying to figure it out. And it was so weird to me that I would like have pain. And I kid you not, the first 3 months were painful for me. And not excruciating pain where I'm like crying, but like I was like a little. And that was just because I like it takes a while for your like nipples to like, what is the word, like mature. Like it takes a while for your nipple to get used to it. You're like having a baby suck on you for like every hour sometimes, you know. That's an adjustment for your body. So just keep that in mind. And especially like fast forward to my third kid, and I have a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and an 8-month-old. So I had my kids pretty close. This third time, literally no pain, 0 pain. And my second, it was minimal pain. And they have a 2-year difference. So just keep that in mind. Like in the beginning, it might be uncomfortable. And I know they tell you like, oh, you shouldn't have 0 pain. No, you're gonna have pain. Like, let me rephrase, pain with uncomfortable. It's gonna be a little uncomfortable. Again, your body's not used to like a little baby sucking on you every hour, every 2 hours, every 3 hours, you know? And it's an adjustment. So just ease your mind that like sometimes you're not doing anything wrong. Your body's just adjusting, you know? Thank you. And then for like nursing bras, like I'm even wearing one right now, the Aiden bras. And I love these bras, especially when I'm home. I would say when I'm at work, I use different bras, which I'll also link those of my favorite bras and I'll show you. And I never bought like super expensive bras. I guess I should have, since I didn't plan to have like my 3 kids back to back, but the bras that I used worked perfectly for me, and they're not expensive. They're the Aiden brand from Target, and I just love them. They're very convenient and easy to get. And for me, I know people are very like OMG on their nipple showing, because the Aiden, like the one I'm wearing right now, doesn't have like padding, but that honestly doesn't bother me. We all have nipples, so. And then for me, what really helps me in my supply is like, which is kind of a bummer, is like not trying to cut what I eat. I definitely try to eat better, and I'll just try and eat like, you know, shrimp Alfredo all day, which I really could, but I really just try to eat healthier and still eat like as I'm hungry. Like I don't deprive. If I feel hungry, I'm gonna eat. And that really makes a difference on my milk supply, because whenever I'm like, let me eat less, you can immediately tell in my milk. And even vice versa, like get yourself, it doesn't have to be this cup, but obviously like get yourself something that you have easily access to water and drink. plenty of it. And for me, it's easy because I've always carried a water cup with me. I always have to have water. So just keep that in mind. The more water you drink, the better for your supply. And I've tried the like body armor, like whenever I do feel like my milk supply is getting lower, or even like, but I honestly I don't really tell a difference compared to when I drink water. I feel like if I drink water, it's the same. Sometimes I drink the body armor just whenever I'm bored of drinking so much water. Back to whenever, if you are having pain, the Medela brand has these nipple, I don't know the official name of it, but like nipple soothers that it's like a square thing you just put over your nipple, and I would put that in between. And I would use this mainly in the beginning when like my nipples are like not like super raw, and it would soothe the heck out of them and help so much. And also another tip, like in between feedings, put the nipple cream on you, so it just soothes that, so you're not in so much like discomfort in the beginning, you know. That would be like a major tip, especially like that first like 3 weeks, that first month. Make sure to get those nipple covers to soothe you. Especially I would recommend using that for their longest stretch, so mainly maybe at night, or I mean you can use it whenever really, but just so you can get like the full effect. And I would cut them, so instead of using, because I think like it's only 5 in a packet, I would cut them down the middle. And I mean, I didn't need the whole thing to cover, like the thing is the nipple soother thing is a square, and my nipple's not that big, so I would just cut them and then use 2, like half and half, right? So that would really help so much. And also my hospital did offer a bunch of lactation classes. If I felt like I needed them, I guess I would have done it, but I didn't think I did. I was like, I got it. Even when the lactation consultant, for especially this 3rd time around, she's like, well, I need to watch you latch your baby on. I was like, okay. So she watched me and she's like, oh, you got it, like you're a pro. I'm like, it's my 3rd time, I got it. But whenever it was my first time, I used the lactation consultant. They were really helpful in like teaching me how to latch my babies. So I would definitely take advantage of that while you're at the hospital, so they could help you, and you learn like how to attach them, like even just knowing that they're not just supposed to suck your nipple, like they're supposed to be around your whole like areola, makes a big difference, especially for me in the beginning with my first. Also a part of why it was so uncomfortable. Also, a good thing to know is whatever way you feed your baby is whatever what works for you, do that, you know. And also keep in mind on your like mental health and how are you gonna show up and be a better mom. And if feeding your baby is impeding that, I would really just encourage you on just do whatever is best on feeding your baby, and that's whatever is best for you, right? So just always have that in mind. Another thing for my working moms, so whenever I went back to work, I would typically pump unless I fed her before I left. So it would depend. If she would wake up before I left, I would just feed her. If not, I pump before I leave. And then I would just pump every 3 hours at work. So that would be every 4 hours. And I cannot recommend enough having a wireless pump. And I strongly encourage you, especially if you want to be successful. Just for me, I'm a nurse, so it's very hard to even get your full lunch break sometimes. So very much harder to be attached to the wall for 20 minutes to pump, right? And to do that 4 times in a day. I remember with my first, I didn't have a wireless pump. I didn't even know what that was. So whenever I got the LV pump for my second time, wow, what a game changer. And I just pop them in, and I usually chart, but I do sometimes go in my patients' rooms and give them meds, like do something that's not so like what is it called, like physical, because if you do go down, like you could leak. Like I'm not saying like you could run a marathon with these, or maybe you can, I don't know, I haven't tried that, but it's such a game changer, and they're so easy to use. And especially for the LVs, you just pump them, charge them the night before, and you're not charging them throughout the day. And I typically, since I'm like charting or doing something, I'll leave them in for like 30 minutes if I'm like not paying attention. But usually I just try to do 15 minutes of pumping while I'm at work. So I'll pump, like my schedule for work is at 7, noon, 3, and 6. So, and then by the time I get home, she's usually in bed, but she'll wake up for like her dream feed, and I'll feed her then. And I think the smaller there are, like the more often I'll do it. Like sometimes if she was already asleep when I would get home, when she was like 4 or 5 months, then I would go ahead and pump, but now I don't. So your schedules will change, obviously, because their stretches of eating will be more. And I've been like even debating right now whether I should drop to 3 pumps at work. But for me, whenever I get my period back, my milk supply drops. And that's why it's so key for me to have that stash that I was telling you about in the beginning. Because especially when I'm on my period, I feel like towards the end of the day, I have nothing. So I'm able to just grab the stash in the deep freezer and feed her that. Like, tip I use, especially while I'm at work, is just being consistent with pumping every whatever time I said I was gonna pump, right? And I know depending on your job that can get really difficult, but I guess that's what time management comes to play, and just communicating that, hey, I need a pump like in 10 minutes, so kind of just arrange your day, and it'll literally make a difference, like you just communicating that. Like I've literally even told the patients, like especially when I would have to connect to the wall and pump, like, hey, I'm not going to be available. I wouldn't always tell them exactly what I was doing, right? But I would be like, hey, I'm not going to be available in the next 20 minutes. Can I do something for you right now that I'm here? Obviously, emergencies happen. Like if it was an emergency, and then I just we have buddies on my floor. So I just let my buddy know, hey, I'm pumping, so they know to call her if like a patient does call, Typically they wouldn't, because I already communicated that, like, hey, I'm gonna be busy in the next 20 minutes, and it's just 20 minutes, So I would definitely recommend to communicate your needs, especially at work, to your management, so you can be successful and you won't feel like, oh, I need to do this. Because now that I have the wireless pumps, I just like put them in wherever. Like I typically go into, we have like a staff hydration station, and I just put them in really quick and go about my day. And then to take them out, I don't even need to like expose myself. I just like slip them out and I'm good to go. So just, but before, like we did, whenever you had to connect to the wall, we have a pumping room. So, and they made it for us moms. Like, so sometimes, especially if you're like the first one to pump at your job or whatever, like communicate with your management and they can make something up for you. Like, you don't need anything really fancy, so always communicate your needs, I would feel. I would also have to say, especially in the beginning of your like nursing journey, really feed on demand, because that would even help your milk supply come in. So I know, especially if I remember correctly, like on the second day is when they would cluster feed. And according to the lactation consultant I have, like they do this so your milk comes in. So for me, I had vaginal birth, so I was only there a night. So my milk wouldn't come in till like day 3 or 4, and I felt like that's when like they really like can go a little bit of a stretch, like a 2-hour stretch. But I feel like in the beginning, especially like I'm feeding the baby like every hour. So, and I did that with every baby, and it just kind of works out, and it tells your body, hey, you need to make milk. She hungry? Give me, cookie. Okay. She's fed. She's good now. She's with her dad. Back to what I was saying. I would say the things that really helped me are making sure I'm eating enough, drinking enough water, and just like it's supply and demand, right? So I'm making sure I'm feeding her every 3 hours, even if I am away from her, or whatever, like every 4 hours, whatever your baby is going through right now. So just being consistent is so important. I feel like the more because sometimes we get lazy, you know, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to pump right now. But it makes such a difference on like the long run. So just hang in there. I know it gets difficult, and you'll be fine. Make some lactation cookies. They're yummy. They make a difference, which I should actually make some today because I'm on my period. And I'll show you the recipe just to help you out if you're looking for a recipe to use. And really, if you just Pinterest lactation cookies, I think what makes a difference between a regular cookie and lactation cookie is brewer's yeast. Brewer's yeast helps. Even my mom would tell me to drink some milk. My mom would tell me to drink like just 1 beer just to help, and I'm pretty sure it's because of the brewer yeast and beer. That's why it would help your milk supply. If this helped you or in any way, please give it a big thumbs up. And if you have any tips or any suggestions, please let me know. And I'll catch you guys later. Bye.